a while. There is a fair maid in this town who sorely has my heart beguiled. Her rosy cheeks and ruby lips alone she holds my heart enthralled. Then fill to me the parting glass. Good night and God be with you all.
Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, the Paranormal Portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Well, heck, Steve. Can you hear me, buddy?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hold on. Let's get
I have
this.
no idea which microphone I'm on. There we go. I can see us now. And I can hear you.
Already, man. Already. I just don't even know. How you doing, my friend? How you doing?
I am doing exceptionally well today. How are you?
Firefox. Chrome got to get his stuff together. I'm telling you what. I mean, Chrome plays videos. They used to play videos so well. And you load music up and it plays instead of doing that worry thing, running around. And I'm sitting there with just a picture and no music. And then it starts to play, then it stops. And oh, I'm not a big fan. Chrome, you gotta get yourself together. In the words of Chalky White and Nucky Thompson, you gotta get yourself together.
Yeah, I still use Chrome. I don't have much trouble out of it, but I haven't updated in a while, so I don't know if that's...
It updated, and now it won't play videos at all. You'll hear them, but you can't see them.
Donnie's asking me, what is my hair situation here? Now, I've got my studio lights on back there, and I think I've got it too blue. I look like a blue hair tonight.
That's all right. I see the
it's the lights.
Look, I got kitties climbing my green screen. You're liable to see anything. Probably look like dragon.
On my lap.
Oh my goodness.
She's been caught in my ear pods. She's been caught in my beard. She's been caught in my necklace. She's been a dozen trips back and forth.
Hello, lovely cat.
She's
Hello.
gonna get down. Yeah, I may have to.
Are you kidding me? How you doing?
Gotta do something about that light over there. It's too blue.
Well, you can get up and cut it off if you want, huh? Hello, everybody.
Give me just a second.
Go ahead. I've got kittens having wrestling matches at my feet. How y'all doing? Are you kidding me? Cats on parade. Welcome. Let me get some tea. This episode's already gone to hell and only go uphill from here or downhill. It only get better. I don't know. Let's hope so. Hey, Fast Tammy, how you doing? Hey, Donnie Cho, how you doing, hon? Tell you what, Donnie, I'm digging. I had no idea I was going to go head first into axe murders like you wouldn't believe. Oops. Documents. I'm reading court transcripts. I'm listening to court transcripts. I'm in there head first in this rabbit hole. And I'm telling you, it's not a nice rabbit hole. It's hard to keep your vibration up. So that's why I play the music in the front. Isn't that a lovely song? Now that the description to that is Parting Glass, and I thought it would get us in the mood tonight to going into some lore from Ireland, Wales, and all around. And I just figured that would help, with the mood. But then
That's
again,
a little bit better, maybe.
isn't that a lovely song? Oh, that's beautiful. It looks pretty back there. I love the lantern and everything. But that was a lovely song. I was just telling them it was a song called Parting Glass, and it's in the description for the show if you're interested. I thought it was really
Oh,
pretty.
I thought that was one of the Banshees we were talking about.
Yeah, it could have been a Banshee. Could have been a
No,
Banshee.
it was pretty. Kind of put me in the mind of Enya or Lorena McKinnon
Yeah.
or one of those people.
Yeah. If Firefox hadn't messed it on me, you have no idea what it looks like on this side. Hey AJK, how you doing? It's not
Same here. I'm
And
not
are
wearing
you kidding
pants.
me? I
No,
think
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
last couple weeks ago you said something about Mike, and I'm definitely on it. I really like Mike. He does a lot of his own publishing and stuff like that, and he's into everything just like us. And our friend out of Washington, Michelle, she that's how she got her books published and stuff. So yes, I'm very aware of him. I think he's terrific. I like his show, and you never know who will get on. I'm talking to a couple people to come on for Christmas. I'm trying to balance everything out
One
between
guy.
axe murders and
I want that sports writer on here. Now he's not coming on to talk sports, but he's got a book that's going to rock your socks.
Oh, I am exchanging emails with him right now.
Let me say hi to a few people here. Fast Timmy's here. AJK, Blue Crossroads. Are you kidding me? She's the great Elvira. Cats on Parade. Howdy, how you doing tonight?
I sometimes see Davey over with
Davy Jones Locker's here.
Hey, Davey.
Donnie Cho.
Bill.
Half Nirvana, half ZZ Top. Hey, I can
Either
rock
way,
that. Either
cool.
way.
I'm still eating cookies.
Yeah,
these are the best little cookies. They're German. They come out of I know it's got like a wafer, but it's got dark chocolate on top. It says "I love you" in multiple different languages.
You had mint chocolate.
Yep. So good.
I've got a thing. Remind me to send it to you. Talks about how the Oreos and the symbolism imprinted in the Oreos has to do with the Knights Templar. It'll blow your mind.
Oh, you wouldn't believe what they're putting in the Oreos. I mean, I'm not going to tell you here on this podcast.
Not as much as they used to. Anyway, they're smaller.
You look up the additive HEK, all capitals, and there's.
I want to know.
And if you want to go down that rabbit hole, I'll tell you what. It's. I don't hesitate to say it's uglier than the axe murder rabbit hole I've been down for 2 weeks. But Steve and I have been digging. Donnie's digging. We're all going in different directions. And Steve is right. I have been in correspondence with. Those are co-authors. What the book is. I won't surprise you, but it's been a trip. I'm telling you. Oh, and I'm here to tell you guys. When I went into the Lizzie Borden case, I was, just like you guys. It's just like every other story that Donnie and I have done, or Steve and I have done. When we go digging, like when we dug into Abraham Lincoln conspiracy, there's no doubt there was a conspiracy there. No doubt whatsoever. We didn't know we were going to get into the supernatural and a little bit of the paranormal. There was so much of it in there, as well as history and civil war and politics and secret societies and death, dying, destruction, greed, all of it. That thing had all of it. And that's like scratching the surface. You start talking about JFK, which I'm more used to talking about. It was really a deep dive when I hit on the Abraham Lincoln. And just like Bonnie and Clyde, you start digging up stuff, and it's like one newspaper journalist or one reporter will make up a line, just make it up out of whole cloth with nothing to go on. And then 100 years of writers and theorists and, everybody will go off and include that one line that was made up out of nothing. And
I've seen them take just maybe not even a chapter out of one book and then write a whole book on that. Mm-hmm. And then that's the supposition there that what was in that first book was true, and which may or may not be. Oh my gosh,
has Linda passed?
Linda passed away. Linda Godfrey. Good friend,
I'm so sorry. Oh gosh,
amazing
we almost
woman.
had her on the show so many times.
Yeah, talented author. Yeah, let's observe a moment of silence
Oh
for
geez,
Linda.
yes, please do. Oh wow, see
Yeah, that's a blow. She
that's
will
like when
sorely be
Rosemary left.
missed. I
When
knew she'd been
Rosemary
having
Ellen
some
got
health problems. She was supposed to be
oh
at the Dogman conference that I didn't get to go to.
talked to her through so
She
many
didn't make it
emails
either. So
and a
yeah,
couple of phone calls and spoke to her about werewolves and things. She had the most wonderful stories on werewolves. In fact, she was the one, her writings and how she was, really her research made me believe that such a thing could be absolutely true. I was like, werewolves? Yeah, sure. That's something Universal made up for, Saturday morning, after the cartoon. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it's true. I think, you know, um, there could very well be um, such a thing. Even more so than vampires for me. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
No,
But
all of her
and
books
I
were
mean
good, but my
werewolf,
favorite.
dogman, different.
I
But
know what I saw.
mhm.
Modern day encounters with monsters of New Urban Legend and American lore, or
Oh
ancient lore,
gosh,
rather. That was just
what
such a
she has
wonderful
done
book.
for this paranormal and this community, just like Rosemary Ellen Guiley. I mean, as far as going off into those, unexplored, well, not say unexplored, but she dug a little deeper and got those great stories and that lore and got. She's the one that tells my favorite story about the two young, and I believe it's in the book that Steve just mentioned, where the two kids go to the laundromat with their mom, and he'll rip your lungs out, Jim. Yeah, werewolf of London. But yeah, my band used to do that song, and the guy I dated sang it and played bass, and that was like my favorite one he did. That and Mott the Hoople. For some reason, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, ladies.
My,
There's
my
some
favorite line
songs
in
that they
that
do, and you're
song,
like, yeah.
little old lady got mutilated late last night.
Yeah. So, and lawyers, guns, and money. That was another one.
That was a good one.
All the
And
Morton
on the
Vivon.
same album as Werewolves of London was Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner. Remember that one?
No, I don't. I'd have to hear it. But he's also the one that
Google
introduced me
that
to
one.
Tom Waits. He goes, listen to this guy, and I'm just sitting there waiting for him to start laughing or something. Like, is this a joke? I mean, the piano has been drinking, and my necktie is asleep. And I'm like, okay, this is one of the
The
guys down
carpet needs a
around, right?
haircut.
Well,
I love Tom Waits.
yeah, Tom something else. But man, I can't believe that, Linda Godfrey. God bless you, darling. Thank you
Yeah.
for everything you've done for the city, and I know she can hear us or will.
Are you
Everything you've
kidding
done for this
me?
community and
So
class.
she's up there chatting with Rosemary and Art Bell. There you
Yep,
go.
yep, yep. And and always with class. Always held herself in self respect. No matter what people said. Because we talk about some crazy stuff, and people go, "Oh gosh, I
And
can't tell
she's
you the amount of
probably
times."
side eyeing the Warrens.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. The times I go on the show and I go, I don't believe a word that woman's saying. And I'm like, that's your prerogative, man. I'm here spilling this out. I mean, if they think we're doing it for book money, they're out of their mind because you don't make, and that going in, you just want to get the book out so people who want to read it will get the information and get the connection or get the, or get that, you know, I'm not alone feeling or, hey, that's interesting. Let me look into that. That's what you hope for, that you touch somebody in some way. You're not going to buy
And
a
that's what I
house.
liked about I Know What I Saw. It was real people, real stories, similar to what I do on Missing Persons and
Absolutely.
Mysteries with the listener stories. That's
And with
one of my
class.
favorite segments of
She
the
did a
whole
really
thing.
good job. Uh-huh. Yep. Oh, you are. She says she's doing arsenal of holy water and wrought iron in her RV. I hope so. You should get one of those gypsy bargains. Now I'm telling you, if you look that up, because I definitely wanted to get one too, but I'd rather my horse pull it than anything else. But oh gosh, those
And
things
by
great with a
horse, you
little
mean
Ben
cats.
Franklin stove. Yes, well, cats are inside, but it would be great. And there's people that actually build them, and they're not that expensive. You can get them custom done and everything. You'd be shocked. You know,
Yeah,
but
they're surprisingly affordable. When I worked for
yep.
KPNL Radio, Ann Selena over there also does a podcast called The Caravan of
I
War,
love Am.
and she wanted to get one and go around to paranormal events with it and stuff. And she looked at some prices and stuff, but I think it was cost prohibitive for her at that time. But they were surprisingly affordable and looked just like the gypsy wagons, the painted swirls and scroll work and everything.
And you got to be smart. You got to be, you got to be smart with your storage, and you got to be smart with water source, of course, and a way to, cleanse your water. And some of them you can set up outside showers just like camping. It would be great to have one and pull it with something else if you had to take it to go. That's why I always said I like the horse. It also depends on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you were out in the country and you could get away with something like that, that'd be fantastic. But they
look
are
at some of
fabulous.
these places like in Pennsylvania where you often see horse and buggy on the road. So wouldn't be much of a stretch.
Look at Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and everything else. Welcome in, Monica. Welcome in, Jose, and everybody else that I missed here. I'm so sorry if I missed you. But we're going to do Banshees tonight. Now, I listened to a little thing, and I do have a little video for you guys, and I wanted Steve to be able to tell it. As far as, just your basic definition would be a female spirit and is also considered to be an omen of death. The Banshee roams the countryside and can be heard wailing when she predicts a death. And the word Banshee comes from Irish being she, which is, that is the lightest interpretation of it.
Woman of the Barrows.
When I started digging, I'm thinking it really links in, Steve, I think, and at the end of this, I'll ask you, and I think you might agree, with what Lynn was telling us last night about almost relatives coming to help you across, like you're not just relatives, but spirit guides, angels, extra dimensionals, and everything else, a higher vibration being.
A familiar spirit in the regard that it was a family spirit, that every family, if you had a coat of arms, you had your own Banshee.
Absolutely.
And, sometimes more than one would appear. And if it 2 or 3 were singing in a chorus or shrieking in a chorus, whatever they do, wailing, then that meant somebody very high up in your family, or maybe even somebody important in office, or even a holy person was going to pass away.
And they said that it's either a wailing or a screaming, just a guttural screaming, and sometimes clapping, like, just really loud clapping. And I thought, well, that reminds me of the death beetle, and that was portrayed in Practical Magic, and it's actually a legend. So it's again another harbinger, like crows or something like that. And I can attest to the thing is real, because
a lot of those in the South, a lot of harbingers, of things to come. And my mother's family, anytime the calendar fell off the wall, they would mark the date, and usually somebody would pass away within a week or so. And they heard the death beetle, those death ticks, the death knocks, or whatever you want to call it, that ticking sound. I've heard of people hearing that, and all kinds of different omens and portents, and
I'm chewing, but
know what to look for.
I'm starving. I was working on this video for you guys tonight, and it's the quaintest thing. It's a little tiny short documentary, 8 minutes or so, but it's people who live in Ireland, or and in these little towns that are just kind of out and away, from everybody else. And most of them have passed now, but somebody thought, just like Steve, to go and get their story and record it. And bless your heart, you got to hear it like 2 or 3 times. So, like, excuse me, what'd you say? But it's adorable. So the print is on there, and if you can't understand what they're saying, just watch their body language and stuff like that. The words are there. But I think they're absolutely so adorable to tell it in their own way.
And talking about some other stuff there, when a bird hits the window, or heaven forbid a bird get in the house. I've seen my granny, even in her old age, grab a broom and run across the top of the furniture trying to get a bird out of the house, because that was a sign somebody was going to bite the dust.
Louisiana has
others like that.
This is the difference. This is what I today, when I was digging, I kind of pulled the difference in. It's like Steve says, it's like basically the Banshee is a female who has died in the family, usually something tragic, something sudden, and almost like they are, like we were speaking of last night. If you think about it with an open mind, what if it's similar to someone that comes across that hasn't quite crossed over completely yet,
Yeah.
coming back
Or
to help
somebody
others,
coming back to cross
to
others
help
over.
others.
That's
This is a
like
family
before my mom
member.
passed away, she saw her mother a year to the day before she passed.
Yeah.
I
And
think
there's,
family come back sometimes to guide you along.
yep. And it's saying, I mean, it's no really different than people coming across to help somebody
And
like Lynn was talking
I
about last.
wanted to find it. It's
Same,
in a
same
book
thing.
I've got here somewhere, but that saying that's like calling Titanic a boat. There we go with the Titanic again.
Yeah,
Somewhere
yeah.
in a book, I've got the notes written out in like piano notation of what a banshee's wail sounds like, and
Oh,
I've played it
wow.
on a keyboard before. It does sound very eerie. I wasn't able to find it. Maybe at some point in the future I'll find it and record it. And I don't know if I want to do that or not. Though. Might attract a banshee.
But you got to stop telling that black-eyed kid story, because I promise you, every time you tell it, something
Every
happens over
time,
here at my
every
house.
time.
Every single time. And it
Last
was
time I told it
time.
on, I think it was Amber's Paraworld. There's a ladder standing up in the backyard up against my house. Get up there and winterize the swamp cooler. And I swear I was out there after dark after I told that story. I heard something go up that ladder in the dark, and there was
Oh,
nothing there. I could see the ladder, but it was immediately after I told that black-eyed kid story. Walked outside with mother, stomp, stomp,
tore
stomp,
this
stomp,
place up
stomp, stomp.
too. I'm telling you. People laugh, but it's true.
But it's
Read this
true.
one, Steve. Read this one from Vixen Doe. Read it.
Round Coolin's Peak, the mist it is sailing, the banshee croon by note of wailing, and my blue eye with sorrow be streaming for him who shall never return. Mac Crimmin, hope I'm saying that right.
Macramen. I don't know. But see, that's just the thing. There is such a cadence and a lilt to I've always loved it. Now we have Scottish deep in our, from my daddy's side, he was a Murdoch. So we have the coat of arms, we have the kilt thing, and a lot of the males in our family got married that way with the kilts and everything. I follow more the Native American, good to honor my matriarchal part of my family.
What
But
do
I
you wear
still
under your
feel that,
kilt? I won't
yeah,
repeat it here
yeah,
in Mixed
and a good
Company.
red lipstick.
You got it. I wasn't going to say it.
I about knocked my brother right to the ground with that one on his
Well,
daughter's wedding
the
day.
actual, what I've been told by gentlemen I knew that wore a kilt, if another man asks you what's under your kilt, you have to reply in a Scottish accent, all 7 shades of your wife's lipstick.
Yeah, there you go. So that was the whole thing about the Banshees with me, because it's connected. It's mostly family.
Family
So
here too.
anyone
There
that
was a
starts with a
Stockton
Mac
Castle
or an
in
O or a
Scotland.
Mick,
It's
you have a Banshee, and it's
the
your
theater's
Banshee
on the
for your
spot now. Come on,
family.
Vince.
See, I just thought they were free spirits running around screaming. If you heard it, somebody was going to die. It goes deeper than, and I think it has
Well,
more to
I think
do.
they're familiar ones, but I think there
Right?
are just random roaming ones too. That if you
Could
hear
be,
it,
could be,
somebody may not be
but
your family, but somebody's going to die.
right, right. And there's a couple of people coming up in this video. Now, most of it's just pictures. It's going to start a little music, but that was the main thing, a point I wanted to make, that a lot of these people believe that it is their family member from, it could be decades back. And for whatever reason, they are to, not necessarily stuck to earth, but come back through to help carry that soul, to warn them, here we go. And as a mourner. Now, here's another thing. There are other women, and I believe they talk about it in this tape, but if not, I want to tell you about this, that people actually hire as mourners. Now, there's different names for them throughout the different, towns and the different centuries. But basically, what it boils down to is the same as in Native American, a lot of Native American cultures, and Agnew could back me on this. I was talking about it recently when I said I do primal screaming. I let the grief out. I just howl, and it goes deep down and just goes. Now, how many different cultures is that in? Think about it. It's extremely tribal, and many indigenous tribes do it. They don't believe in holding anything back. They scream it because you have to let the grief go.
And that was,
Well,
and
a lot
also
of
the
these
Native
rich people,
American. You got
yeah,
the war whoop and things that was meant
yes,
to,
true.
you release that energy when you went into battle or I think it was the Apache like to do that as a means of surprise.
Yep.
They would jump out of wherever and let loose a blood-curdling scream, and you're gobsmacked, and you just stand there, and then that's the end of you.
Rebel yell. I mean, everything is meant for a certain thing, but this one basically dealt with grief. And only the rich could afford them, and they would hire them to come and wail over the dead, to sing their dead over. We did that. I did that for my own sister.
Similar to a sin eater. The wealthy families would hire people to come, and they would put food on the body. The sin eater would eat the food, and then that would absolve the deceased of any sins they might not have been forgiven of, so they could pass on into the next plane.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one interesting thing I found that the legend differs between Irish and Scottish. Of course, the Irish legend is the one that she will reveal who's going to die. But there is a similar thing in Scotland. But there's another legend in Scotland that claims that the Banshee will grant a wish to anyone clever enough to sneak up on her and suckle her breast. Now that puts things in a whole different light. But
I think I think they're adding to it there.
Yeah, I think that's like putting salt on a bird's tail. If you're clever enough to get that close to a Banshee, you're not going to. It can't be done.
And I just think it really has something to do with, I really felt that connection where it was just another thing that really pulls everybody together. It's all the same. What's the difference between that and, these professional grievers that they would hire?
Mm-hmm.
It's different from prayer warriors. You ever been to a Southern Baptist funeral or a New Orleans funeral where they
I've seen those New Orleans street funerals where they dance and carry the coffin, and in some of those cultures, they're sad when you come into this world and then celebrate when you go out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's all very similar. It's just another one of those things that once you back up and you look at all the different connections, how similar we really all are in our beliefs. And I think the Banshee might very well just be another form of that spirit that comes across to help you cross over. And of course, we think it's very scary because when you hear it, just like the death rattle or the clock stop or any of the things you guys were mentioning, or the bird hitting the window, or or any of that.
And it's not just the Scots-Irish thing. It's in the Welsh folklore, Norse folklore, and then early American folklore has it too. So the variations of it.
Absolutely, it's true. Well, here's a couple of short people. This is very short. Like I said, if you have a hard time hearing them, go back and watch the video again. It actually is all written out there so you can hear it. Some of them I can understand a little bit better, but most of these elder people here have passed, and they got the stories down of when they crossed paths with the Banshee. So here we go. Let's listen in.
Banshee simply means the woman.
I had the Banshee one night. I was here in Milan. I was 14 years of age. And the following night, a neighbour of mine crashed, and then during that night, then he passed on. That's all there was to tell you, like. I just heard the Banshee crying, that's all. But not much more to it. I just heard the person crying down there. In the night, that night. And it wasn't a human. But that more to tell you, like. I shall have presumed to the Banshee. I mean, the following evening the chap crashed, and he passed on then during that night. So I mean, there must be something in that, isn't there? I don't know. Do you? What would she helm you for? Why she got to helm you for? A woman that passed on be generations before that, I don't know. She must have some contact with the next world. A person that knows another person is passing on.
Explain it. No idea.
Apparently, when he was getting the tea, and he was getting it, I suppose, well, he shouldn't be getting it, maybe, but he heard the Banshee, and he dropped everything and ran home, and he was as white as a sheet, and he was frightened out of his life, and he got an awful fright. But, like, And somebody in the area, somebody belonging to him, had died on the night, now, as it so happened. Now, believe it or not, it could be anything.
My two aunts, they saw her. You know, they're cutting cabbages, say, in the yard or something, a summer's evening, and she came along and passed them by. And she come in her hair. She took no notice that they didn't appear like.
Now,
I
how
mean, to
Irish
be
is
long
that?
one
You're
of
cutting
Irish,
cabbage
so-
and the Banshee comes along.
When a person would be passing on, yeah. She was supposed to be sitting there, combing her hair and crying out, you know.
It's a very consoling belief. It's a very nice one, very consoling. It's family. It's the idea that it's one of your ancestors, that somebody has come to take you away, that somebody is going to cross over with you and you join the community of the dead of your ancestors on the other side. At least that's how people have worked it out down over the centuries. So you're not going on your own. You're accompanied by one of your own. So it fits in with people's desires and requirements and a sense of identity and so on. And then being the protectress of the land, being the goddess of war. So you have many dimensions, many imaginations and conceptions of the other world. It's the land of women. It's the land of the dead.
All the old people long ago, you know, they had all them stories and everything, you know, but today every road is so busy with cars and everything. You know, they had all them stories and everything, you know, but today every road is so busy with cars and everything, they must have killed them all.
That's why I say, you know, the tragedy is that thousands and thousands of these stories have been lost just because the old people haven't been got in time.
Still have an interest in it, you know what I mean? It's folklore, it's interesting, you know what I mean? Not many people my age do.
There's more in this world than we think about, than we know about. I'm convinced of that.
That's Ireland, yeah. That's Ireland.
God help us. Them are the days.
What is that? My goodness. Let's go say hi. Say hi. I'll get you out of the sandbox, Ted. A minute. To say hi. He's so sweet. He did a flute music.
Ted from the dead.
Yep, I'll get you out the sandbox. I don't know how you got in there. Every once in a while, yes, I love you, baby. Every once in a while, they'll just like get rid of some of my monitors or put somebody in the sandbox. So what do you think about that, Steve? Did you hear what she was saying about somebody, one of your ancestors coming back and carrying you over so you don't have to go
I
alone?
believe that.
When
And,
you hear that, welcome in Griffin and everybody that jumped in. Everybody, welcome. I think it's an incredible way to look at it.
I like the part there where the old man was saying that the Banshees probably didn't exist anymore because the roads were so busy and full of cars that they probably ran them all over.
Oh, man. Yeah, and like that one guy was saying, he says, I don't know what to tell you. We heard it. I heard it. Gone. You know, the next afternoon, he was gone. And
That's Ireland, dear. That's Ireland.
Yep. Oh, it's really something else. Isn't that something beautiful?
But now,
I don't see you in here, Ted. What are they saying? They said that you've been banned. Is that what they're telling you? That's crazy. Oh, YouTube. I can't keep up with them sometimes. I think it's in my. Go ahead, Steve. Tell a story, darling.
once
I gotta
upon
go
a
in here and
time.
save him.
No,
Let's see who's in the
the
sandbox tonight.
professional mourners you were talking about there, they were called keeners, and that's what they did. They put forth a
Yes.
keening wail, and there may or may not be some connection there to the Banshees are just another plane of existence for the keeners. But yeah, we were talking about all the other things in the South, the portents and omens of death. You let a chicken crow. That chicken wouldn't long for the world in my granny's place.
Ted's in the dang sandbox. He's in here playing with sex fun business, pause fun for you porn-a-thon. He's in here with some of them. I'm not even going to repeat the names. And somebody named Chillin' Charlie. Ted, we're going to get you right on out of there, honey. There you go. Oh, my goodness. That's awful. Look at that.
Busted Ted out.
Oh, my goodness. Now you busted out. Oh, you better take a shower. You've been in there with some unsavory characters, my friend. All right. You should be good to go now, honey. Sorry that happened. I didn't put you in. I don't know who.
Yeah, he came in. He's like, Sysco banned me.
What do they have, like Gremlins? You know that old movie, Gremlins, where that one guy, that the older mechanic was trying to run around and tell everybody? That's actually a Christmas movie, isn't it? And
Boyd Axton.
yeah, and he kept telling everybody, there's gremlins in the, I saw them in the war. There's gremlins in the cars. There's gremlins in the gears and stuff. I think that's what they got going on over there at the YouTube. Yep. I pinched your ranch. Oh, Lord. Well, that I can fix right quick.
Screwy stuff sometimes on YouTube, and especially in the back end YouTube studio.
Oh, my God.
There was one day earlier this month where the other channel, we lost about $5,000 in revenue for just a short amount of time, and then it was back. But
stupid.
Got right on the phone. We've got a direct representative at YouTube, that a number we can actually call. Like, what happened?
There we go. Yeah. Oh, gee. That's just nuts, man. And, people are, well, why do you have to be so careful? And I'm really not. Hi, Sue. Welcome in. Hey, Lindsay, I didn't get to say hi to you, darling. I was just telling my friend the other day, I said, I don't understand why I can't take a jar of this cream, go to Vermont, stand at the end of the dock and chuck it into Canada and have somebody over there catch it with a baseball glove. I just see it easier to me that way.
Well, now I sent you the website for that. Did you look into that program?
I'm looking into it. You bet I am. I don't want to say anything about it yet, but it looks very promising.
Stuff you've already given them, they should sign you up for that.
Yep, already using, and if I can get them to be an affiliate here, then, I can help you guys out, because I've used the stuff, and it's not like, I don't want to peddle somebody's thing. The reason I would do it is because it actually helps, I don't know about all the products, but I know about this one, and, if it's hard to get it, maybe that would help. I don't know. People put stuff on all the time, and it seems to make it easier. And they usually give you some kind of a code where you get like 10, 15, 20% off or something.
Check out with code Sysco for 10%.
Would that be, or code Crispy or something? So I took the boys today and took all their little folders. These guys have medical folders already. They've got so much stuff that they did over at the thing, So I brought it into the vet so we could pre-register them, because they got to get, Santa's bringing them little shots for their butt for Christmas, because they have to get their rabies shot and their last booster for their distemper and stuff. So, you got to stay on track with that, or you have to start all over again. And these guys are up front and all. I don't like to get stuff that they don't need, but I'm in Jersey. They say they have to have a couple things, so we're going to do it. Either way, they have to get shots in their butts from Santa. And so I took them in there today, and the Ocean County pound took a big picture of them and put it on the cover of their little folders. And I went in there and I handed them in, and I said, and she just looked at me and went, oh, because I'm like, yeah, I know, right? They're so extra. These little boogers. I'm telling you what, and look at yours. Oh my goodness. She just loves you.
She's trying to give me the mustache.
Yeah, she gives you the mustache. And they lean in with their butt like, this means I love you.
Check this out. Look at my butt.
Yeah, look at my butt. I still don't understand why what place is it that's absolutely, is it Japan that's absolutely obsessed with cat's butt? They have cat butt cookies and cat butt dolls with butt.
I've seen those cookies before. There's the cat shape. It has the little pink dot like up right under the
They are, Donnie. They are cover models. They could be. and I'm making them. I couldn't find the bow tie just the right size, so I'm making them for them so they can get their Christmas pick. But well, I'm gonna play something here at the outro. There's a little 5-minute video I did of the winter scenes and some nice winter music, and some of their pictures and stuff are in there. And it's different from the one last night. I actually worked on it today, but I wanted to get you all in the kind of the mood of the aisle tonight, But I found that absolutely fascinating. Just looking into Banshees, I'm still convinced that there's some kind of connection there. It's not just a harbinger of doom. It is, but again, if you look at it differently, they're just carrying you across so you don't go alone. A lot of native lore, that's what crows do, that's what other souls do, spirit guides, all of that, and our loved ones that are passed, and it connects into last night. What do you guys think? Is you still think that the Banshee has gotten kind of a bad over time? Because now I look at it like you said, Steve. It's just like what was the name of the ladies again? The professional mourners.
The Keeners.
I found that so interesting.
Because
And then it's like only the very rich can afford them. So I guess the poor had to learn to mourn on their own, right? Now Steve is frozen. Am I frozen too, or is it just him? Let's see if I take him down, bring him back up. Are we frozen too? Nope. Looks like I'm still going and Steve's frozen. My bandwidth is strong. Everything's going here good. So if you don't pop back in, hun, okay, just Steve and say, if you can still hear me, Steve, go out, come back in again. Thank you, Ted. So, how was it in the sandbox, Ted? Was it ugly in there? Was there nothing happened? You weren't probed or anything, were you? Are you okay? Oh, geez. Because I hate that my friends were in that sandbox. There were some, devilish characters in there with you. My goodness. I'm glad you found a way to send us a signal, an SOS, so we can get you out of that sandbox. Save us from the sandbox. Yep. Yeah, I think blame Hollywood. Absolutely. Bad rap for sure. But I think it's also like the legend and the things that scare you. But I bet you if you went back a generation, here we go. I bet you if you went back a couple, there you are, honey.
And
if
we're
you went
back.
back a couple of decades, you'd get more of what those older people were saying, the elders, more like, they just come to take you over. Of course, it would be scary to hear one. And then you think, well, how do you tell if that's one from your family? How do you know if it's for you? Who's the Banshee wail for, right? For whom the bell told, Steve,
Yep,
that would be the
indeed.
scary part,
That would, man. It was like, well, as long as it ain't me.
right? And then
And
yeah,
that's
terrible
the
things happen if
question
you,
I
that's
have.
true.
Do you hear your own banshee or do other people hear it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Does anybody have the answer to that? Can you hear somebody else's banshee, or do you only hear your own? Does anybody know? I'm serious because I don't know. I mean, this is all really new to me. I always heard of the banshee, and I've thought it was. I've been saying it a lot lately because it's like I told my husband when I was losing my friend. I said, just get ready because I'm going to sound like a banshee and a wood chipper. I said that's if that doesn't prepare you, nothing will. You know but and I did probably, but so I've been saying it a lot, and I started thinking about it, and lo and behold, we start digging into this, and it seems like it's just a little bit different, just like everything else. And I thought about, I think it's really connected into, your ancestors carrying you over, and I wonder if anybody's ever encountered anything like that, like Lynn or somebody has seen something coming over, because that almost seems more scary. I mean, these pictures, of course, they're artist renditions and everything. You just said long gray hair, and maybe sometimes can appear as a young siren or more of an older, more. They said hag, but that's just somebody who's older, and I guess just like anybody else, they can appear as they wish. Depending on how traumatized they were when they crossed, of course, you know. And I don't know if it's their choice to come back and do this, or if it's something that is more like their I don't want to say cursed to do, or or held to do. They must do this for so long to make up for whatever. I don't know. I just think it's all tied in somehow. Yep. Let's see. Oh, really? I did not know this. Oh, listen here. Thank you, Maury. Is it Maury Gaddy? I want to say it right. Maury Gaddy sounds right. A lot of people saw the Banshee before Katrina in New Orleans area. I didn't know that. Did you heard that one, Steve?
Yep, I've heard that. And over on Missing Persons and Mysteries, my latest videos
Yep.
about strange screams in the wilderness. And some of those were described as banshee-like wails. Some
Right.
cries that were heard up in Tualatin, Oregon, not too long ago.
Now, I also heard today a lady talking about it. They said that a lot of times is it the tree owl that's out there? They've become endangered, I hear, and is not as prevalent as they used to be through the centuries. But if you hear that screaming, it sounds almost like a banshee would. So a lot of times people mistake
And
it
a screech
like a
owl,
red
they
fox.
don't call them that for no reason. Screech owls let
Right,
screech.
and
And
like the red fox too.
yeah, and Ed was mentioned foxes. They let
Yep.
loose a strange wail.
And I would use that in Cabin 22, and that sounds like a woman screaming. That was an actual red fox scream that I used in that, so you guys could tell. Yep, screech owl. Somebody else is saying. So I mean, I think that could really be mistaken for it as well. I mean, gosh, yeah. Let's hope you never hear a banshee. That's right, Davy. But again, to think about it, I think that would be the. I keep thinking about when in Practical Magic, when Sandra Bullock's character, she heard the death beetle, and she was tearing up the floor trying to find this beetle, but because she heard it, she didn't want her husband to die, and they had that curse that that they'd really fall in love, but then they'd lose their loved one, and it scared her to death. But when I think about that, imagine if you hear this banshee screaming, and like I said, I don't know if you can hear somebody else's banshee, like those women that were working in the cabbage fields, they heard it, and I think they were both related. But I don't know. It's a mystery to me. But I'll tell you, just digging this little bit, I learned more about them than I thought was out there. It's really a trip.
Yeah, I dug into some stuff too, and like parts of that I'd never heard before. Just it's always the wail, and whoever heard it, it meant a death was coming. But I didn't know that it was, that every family had their own and stuff like that, and it was related to the Keeners, the professional whalers.
Oh, Donnie's got something here like our thing, Steve. When Steve tells that story that one morning when got the knock on the door, it's like 7:00, 7:30 in the morning. That's a strange time for somebody to knock on my door. If you don't know better, then you don't know me. And I started singing Jeremiah was a bullfrog. And I sang a good verse and a chorus. I swear I did. Open that door because that thing that's got an evil intent, their vibration, it knocks it off. So you're not far off there, Donnie.
Well, was it something evil at your door, or was it like the JWs? Just the opposite?
It was the JWs. It was a very shock joke. But and I'd known the lady because I just think she's absolutely adorable, and I talk to her every time she comes by. I just really admire her tenacity at her age, doing what she's doing, and
I'll let them in and talk to them. I love those little magazines. I love the artwork in both Watchtower and Awake. It's apocalyptic stuff with cities on fire and falling apart and burning, and then these people marching off with these big smiles on their faces.
Yeah, it's almost like the stuff in Denver Airport there, Steve. You ever seen those murals?
I have. I've
right in your face, dude.
Been through the Denver Airport. Just had a short layover there, but I have seen those murals. That's some strange stuff to lay on you before you get ready to fly. I'm telling you that.
Scaring the crap out of you, and so much of it has come true over the past couple of years. It's crazy.
Jehovah's Witness artwork. I would, if I had some of the original paintings or even prints of it, I would hang it on my walls.
You like that stuff. You like the ephemera and all that stuff. And Steve taught me that word. Now I may have heard it in other times and just not paid attention. Hey, Mairead, welcome in. We're talking about
the mermaid.
Have you ever seen the Banshee? We're talking all about it. I think the lore has just gotten. I have such a respect for it. You always had, but I really think it's connected with loved ones coming over to help you pass. This whole harbinger of here
And
it comes.
usually, wherever
You know?
Mairead is, Chris Jarvis isn't far behind.
Right?
If Chris Jarvis is here
So
tonight,
good to
I've
see you,
got something to ask him about if he shows up.
Is it your birthday? Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, our dear mermaid, our beautiful mermaid. We love you so much. Happy birthday to you. You got
Did
it.
not know it was her birthday. She's
There
working
you
on
go.
a story for me about some
Happy birthday,
Noah
sweetheart.
that was spotted near where she lives. And she popped into my head this morning, and I did not know it was her birthday. That's probably why you popped
Happy
in,
birthday.
Mermaid. But the time difference, you were asleep when I thought about you. So
Are
happy
those
birthday.
two old buzzards still alive that own that song? Am I going to have to pay, what, about $150 to be able to sing that to
I
Marie?
think Paul McCartney owns the rights to it now.
Paul McCartney, well, he can. Paul, you better leave me alone or I'll do a true story on your life. Let's make a deal. Let me sing happy birthday to Marie for without charging me, and I won't tell people how you're really not who you are and you really died in this.
Yeah, we're going to open up that
mess.
wormhole one night.
Love you back, sweetheart. And I know Bowden's going to come in here and yell at me. We love you too, sweetie. Hope you're doing great in school. That's why Mairead hasn't been. She is trying to better her life and reach for the stars and, you know, all that wonderful stuff. And we support her 150%. That's why she needs to get up early in the morning. You don't have school in the morning, do you, sweetheart? Come in here and hang out with us. You go and keep your head to the grindstone there. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Yep. There you go.
Since it's your birthday,
Ed is backing me up.
Wish the cider for me there, Mairead.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
People in the chat, let me know if Chris Jarvis shows up. I've got the goods on Chris, but I don't want to tell the story unless he's here.
Unless he's here. There you go. Paul died years ago. That's what I'm saying. Look at this. Look at this. We're getting them all.
The earlobes. That's always been my right. There he is.
Here we go. Here's Chris.
Speak of the devil, and the devil appears. Chris Jarvis, you have been found out, my friend.
Uh-oh.
There was a report about you in the paper today. And the person's name is Chris Jarvis. Cold case reopened as police suspect foul play. Police say a dad whose family has for 16 years endured the pain of his disappearance may have met with foul play before he went missing. Your family is looking for anyone with any information to come forward on your disappearance. Your children, Bree, Cale, and Kaiden Jarvis, are looking for you. So apparently you went missing 16 years ago from Australia and fled to Ohio. And your son, Cale, has a tattoo of you on his shoulder.
Oh, my God. Chris, we have found you. Huh? Are you missing? Have we found you? We found Chris. Somebody let them know that Chris is here and he's fine.
Yeah, they're looking for him in Australia. No, actually, it's a different Chris Jarvis, and I apologize to the real Jarvis family here for making light of the situation, but this is the guy that they're looking for.
Oh, bless him!
And that's not our Chris Jarvis. I've seen Chris Jarvis on video before, and that's not him. But somewhere in Australia, there is a Christopher Jarvis that's been missing for 16 years.
He went over back a Newport and never returned.
What's that Springsteen song? Had a wife and kids in Baltimore, Jack.
Yep.
For ride,
never went back. Yep. You know, and that's sad because that saying comes from actual fact. It happened so much it became a saying that I'm going out for cigarettes and never come back. You know, and then the guy goes off and he has this big adventure and the wife is home taking care of the kids, trying to put things together, praying for him to be okay, thinking he's dead, bleeding in a ditch, and this bastard's out gambling with some hooer. You know what I mean? It makes me crazy. Hooer. There you go, Chris. He said he'd be paid for him to disappear.
I thought that was funny. Actually, Lizzie Borden sent that to me. I'd already seen the headline. And she sent that to me this morning. She said, look, Chris Jarvis is missing from Australia. His children want him to come home.
Yep. Yep.
She was going to listen in. I haven't seen Thin Lizzy here tonight.
AJ's
But,
staying put, I'm guessing. They won't let you go get your own cigarettes, will they, AJ? You bet. I'll go get those cigarettes for you to sit your ass right back down. I'll go get them. They won't let them out the house. You only go to work, come home, bring your paycheck with you. Golly, if that's the truth. Yep.
Mairead says, Chris, it's obviously not the real. No gerbils were
I
hard.
had a pair of Wallabies in high school. I wore them all the time. Those nice tan shoes. I wore them with my Levi's. My Levi's are impeccably cuffed, just 2 inches at the bottom, too.
I'd forgotten all about the gerbil incident there, Chris Jarvis. I don't even know how that started, but we had this whole backstory for Chris Jarvis. He had a gerbil farm, and he had to go milk the gerbils every morning.
Milk the gerbils? Well, that's a lot better than the gerbil story I thought you were going to tell about that star.
Yeah, no, that's Richard Gere.
He backed into a gerbil, I think. Something bad happened.
Oh my God! On one in the tub, apparently.
Oh my God! Don't even. See what happens? You brought something into the chat tonight. Head through the pit. Something wrote in on you. Some negative thing making me.
Ted was asking earlier. He wants his wrench back. He feels naked without it. So
let me give it to him.
Would wrench him there real quick. A spanner for Ted.
There's your wrench, baby.
There you go,
Ted. Your wrench. We need him out there. He's neck and neck, I think, with Aunt Edna and Sasha Bell knocking these little Bebos over the head here. But I really enjoyed the little trip into learning a little bit about the Banshees and listening to those people telling their stories. And, and again, I'm really glad that people went around and recorded that. So I'm going to tell you guys this again. If you're getting together for the holidays and you have elders in your family, please take a little recorder. You can get them real cheap at the Best Buy. If you have paranormal equipment, you probably have it. I don't know whether you can save those little ones that are back and forth, but get you a little recorder and record some stories. Ask them if they ever heard anything.
I wish I had one.
About
when I was recording
supernatural or legends,
strange things in the woods, even though I didn't know that's what it was before I was a teenager, and there was a guy, he was the first generation Irish American, and he talked about like some of those guys. I would literally have to get my dad to translate some of the things he said. I took a little, do you remember the reel-to-reel recorders that were about this big, like a little spy recorder? That was a small recorder back then. It had the reels on it. I took that in. He's like, nope, ain't talking into that machine. He said, you can write down all you want to, but you're not recording my voice. A lot of people are strange about that. Like some cultures, they don't want you to take their photograph because it steals their soul. Yeah.
Yeah, and
but I wish I could have recorded him because
Sapphire, welcome in.
Had a plethora.
I
got several of them, but I wish I could have gotten all of them.
All these like young people doing all this like TikTok all the time. What we're doing now, all this different stuff. I'm wondering if they don't know something we don't know, maybe it is taking a little bit of us away at a time. I mean, if you think about it,
people act the way they do.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's possible because I think basically what they meant. Back in the day, I always considered it when Native Americans said, especially the Plains tribes, because they got an awful lot of play out there with the, after the war and everything, and everybody being pushed that way and being put on forts, like out of the way in these dry, desolate places. And, people coming up and, them photographers wouldn't take their picture because basically what they would do is take their picture, then they'd reprint it. They're making money on it. And what was real big back then, again, that was around, Lincoln's time, was still going on, where the postcards became so famous. So even Crazy Horse got to the point at the end where he was signing basically postcards for these people. And what others were saying was you're selling a part of yourself. You're giving a part of your soul away. And I'm thinking that maybe that got changed to, where Native Americans really thought that you were taking a part of your soul was being captured in these photographs. I think there's a little bit of truth in both of those, where you're kind of selling your soul, you're selling out, like you're selling yourself for this, crazy money that everybody's nuts about and really was worthless, 50 years
and I just got a notification from Facebook that says we're live.
Hey.
They're
Good
getting as
on it,
bad as
Facebook.
YouTube.
Good on it,
YouTube.
Facebook.
I've had YouTube send me
Sitting Bull.
notification after the
Thank
show
you,
was
Glenn.
over.
Yeah, it was Sitting Bull. You're absolutely right, Glenn. Thank you. Yep. But there were so many of them that it was going on with at that time, like Chief Joseph and so many others, and it was very similar. It's like Geronimo wouldn't do it, and I think that's one reason they took his head because and his skull, because he was just so defiant and to the bitter end. He
Yeah. Now,
and he
the
got the
Skull and
better of
Bones
him, and I think
Society,
it
do
really
they
got
still
to them.
have that? I've
I
heard
don't know,
rumors
man.
that it was
I think
taken
it's sick.
and put back, and then I heard that the Skull and Bones had taken it back yet again, and it's back at Yale. So who knows?
I think it's sick, man. I think there's something wrong with that. When we started doing H.H. Holmes, and again, I told Donnie the dark things I was going through and stuff. I said, man, sometimes I know not to go down certain rabbit holes because it's just, for one thing, it's almost, even if you try really hard not to glorify somebody like John Wilkes Booth or H.H. Holmes or one of these other people, you really are by just mentioning them and keeping their name alive, which is one of the reasons I always said that if there was a serial killer, let's give them a number. Don't let their name get out there because it also gives it energy. Think about like Shocker and stuff like that. That was very, of course, exaggerated. Not really, because so many times I've told Steve and I'll talk, and we laugh sometimes, and we think, God, what are we going to do, man? We've spent 50 years in this. We're telling people this isn't a game, that there's some really beautiful stuff in this. I mean, there's so much cool stuff out there, that the miracle of all the stuff that happens, like people coming to help you cross, and what happens when you cross over, and love never dies, and all the little miracles and the feathers floating, just to give somebody hope, or a spirit message, or communication with the dead, or ghost sightings, whatever it may be, and all this wonderful lore. But there's also an extremely dark side to it as well. And I tell people that's one reason I don't like a lot of the shows. And like Michael Laciano put it best, I wish the shows were more about the history and the legend and the story of the ghosts that may be there haunting that place. This is the legend that's here, but we don't even know if this is the ghost that's haunting here. Could be 10,000 other, different people, human beings that were attracted there for whatever reason, even come with the investigator. So he was saying he wished it was more about that than the people doing the investigating. That it's not about that. It's about, and so much, about the techniques and about the history of the place and everything. And I really appreciate that thought. And that's kind of the way I feel as well. But one of the other things that these shows have done is made us very desensitized to things. You see these people going in and provoking and doing all this stuff. This stuff runs deep, and this doesn't just go away either. I mean, if you are antagonizing a serial killer by going to where he's buried, they're dead, and talking about this guy and bringing his name up, you're basically in a way summoning that energy. And I can think of 5 cases off the top of my head where people have gotten in over their head because they then attracted that energy, and now it's stalking them and draining them. And again, I will say, I do believe that certain ghosts can absolutely kill you, and I think a lot of
Or
people.
cause you to hurt yourself.
Right, right. And make you do things you don't want to do over time. That's oppression and possession and jumpers. So, again, Steve and I, and it sounds like we're not really joking, we're laughing because it's like, well, we've done everything we could do. We keep trying to warn these people, and they still do things like get all caught up and go to a investigation or go on a tour and then start antagonizing. Now, I've watched 2 weeks now of all kinds of different axe murders and things like this, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but here's one. What do you think constantly happens to somebody who can lease out a place like the Villisca Axe Murder House and stay there by yourself, and all night long you're just trying to conjure up the murder of these poor 8 people, or these poor 6 dead children, the youngest of which I think was 5 and the oldest was around 12. There was a visiting girl, I think she was around 12 herself, and then an older boy that belonged to the Moors. Now, all of these people, if you go YouTube show after YouTube show, or investigator after investigator, or sometimes you have these people that go and visit the graves and then tell the story and they go stay in the house. What do you think that does over time? When you have medium after psychic after sensitive person that comes in and tells you when they walk into a house, the amount of people that have come in here and conjured up the memory of the devastation and the horrible events that happened here, the energy has also not just conjured up and brought back this serial killer, but has also created another entity out of all that energy, giving it its own life. And these things are never human. They were never human to begin with, but they're like a ball of nasty energy that is almost
comes back
becoming.
into the tulpa. Enough
Yes.
people think about it, concentrate on it, put that energy out there. It's going to go somewhere. Whatever it is that all these people are thinking about, they can use
Yep.
that energy to manifest, or
Yep.
However you want to term it.
Yep. And they do, they sell their pills. So how many serial killers people, let me ask you this will give you a chill in your bones. How many people do you think that were executed on death row or hung because of something, whatever? Go back as far as you want to go. Crucified, go back. How many people do you think that were of that, what they were accused of? Not innocent people that were done this. That's a whole different energy. But people that did this, and then their energy is released. Now, how many of those do you think are going to cross out of free will?
Probably not many, because
they're going to stay.
They don't like what waits for them, possibly on the other
They're
side.
going to stay.
And that could even happen with people that weren't so bad, that didn't murder lots of people, like our biker friend there that just he'd done some things that he knew his mom would be ashamed of,
right.
and
But he also had,
he wasn't afraid of the hereafter. He was afraid of his mother. So
yeah, he had regret, and you can tell he was probably sorry. If he wasn't sorry, he wouldn't have been afraid to face the ones he cared about. You know what I mean? He had regret, and so he was working through it. And through Steve, he was able to, almost like therapy, work through that, and multiple other people there too that were giving of their energy and their time and their concern to help him across. And all of that helps. It's all good energy for that intent. But serial killers that are like this H.H. Holmes and whoever you want to name, they're not going to cross over, out of free will. And I'm saying that very carefully, because some, I believe, and I have no proof of this, just basically, knowledge of what I've been through. Some of them I do very well believe that it's very much like Ghost. If you remember that scene in Ghost when the bad guy died, Steve, these dark shadow people would come up out of the ground and out of the walls around him and pull him down and in. I believe there's a place.
I think the same thing, that either something good comes for you or something bad comes to take you, just depending on how you were and where you're at in that, along that path when you passed.
I believe they stay, and some of them stay and they walk, float, whatever you want to say, freely amongst. And like John Wilkes Booth, who went and saw Rob Guttrow and hanging out in the darn gift shop at Ford's Theater because people are reading the books and saying his name. And then tell me that, it's not going to be the same here, where this guy buried all these bodies, and start talking about him, ask if he's there, give him permission to get on your recorder or your whatever you may be doing, or your Ouija board. I mean, people like Amy Allen walk into a place like the Lizzie Borden house and say, there's a Ouija board behind the couch, and you people need to stop bothering these spirits. They're getting tired of being called back here all the time.
Yeah.
Right out the gate. Madder than all get out, because we know what happens. We know what you're doing. And if you're not only bothering them, you're putting, for the lack of a better word, bad karma on yourself.
Yep, indeed.
And again,
there's some stuff that you just shouldn't mess with.
No, and I've seen many an
Especially
arrogant
if you don't
person.
know what you're doing, like some of these kids that have conjured things up, and I've heard of people doing that, trying to reach a serial killer on a Ouija board. Well, what are you going to do if you get a hold of one, and whatever remains of him comes through or comes across or jumps into somebody else? Now what have you done?
Happy birthday, Mairead. We love you, darling. So glad you popped in tonight, honey.
Happy birthday, Mairead. Again, I didn't know if you heard me, but you popped into my head today. And it was probably because it was your birthday. I'm still working on. She and I
will get you straight A's, baby.
She got some pictures for me from a place over there near Nottingham, England, that where they saw some gnomes back in the 70s.
Yep, Glenn, we're definitely talking about that. I'm all over it, Glenn. I can't wait. It's going to be great couple episodes. I don't think I can do it in one. Steve's involved. Donnie's involved. We're all over it.
Involved with the show, not the murders.
No. I wasn't there. But just horrible, and again, I get into these, I get a bee in my bonnet, and I got, like I did about Bonnie, and I haven't seen Ian since. I hope he's not mad. You should get upset if you read like 3 or 4 books, and 3 or 4 books told you that the milkman did it. Well, where did they get that from? Garbage in, garbage out. Is it from fact? Is it from evidence? Or is it something like a journalist wrote, like back in 30s, or somebody made up out of whole cloth to sell a paper back in 1900 and something, whatever, 02. I mean, you got to think about it and really dig and go back and back and back and back, because I got used to doing that with the JFK case. I can tell you when the 3-letter agency said, okay, it's time to throw more misinformation out there. Let's throw this out here. We'll put a lot of money in the production of it, and it's your money. And we'll put out a movie that says this, or we'll do a documentary and we'll make it really good. And we'll put it up on one of these channels, like may or may not be like the History Channel. Or
there are programs where that's their sole purpose is to spread disinformation. Whether it be JFK, UFOs, cryptids, anything. There's agents of disinformation out there for whatever reason. I fully believe that. If you don't believe me, read Camelio by Robert Guppy. I think I sent 100%. You a copy of that.
I love that. I love that book, Camelio. And they picked on addicts and homeless people in the streets, and people are missing and gone missing. And he volunteered for this and never saw him again.
Who's going to miss him? Who's going to believe him anyway? Yeah, there
who's going to believe him?
Which is why perfect segment of the population. Yes. That's why serial killers go after street girls and things like that, runaways, people that nobody's going to miss or won't miss for a long time.
People will say, why are so many UFO sightings in trailer parks and in the South, where people say, yeah, I'll see it, and all this other stuff, because people are going to say that, not paying attention.
People are going to judge him and say, listen to him. He can barely speak English. Why should we believe what he says?
Right.
I seen it. He come up, Grandpa come up to holler there and flew over Grandpa's shack, and then you lost all credibility in most people's eyes, unfortunately.
You will come up and say hi? Are you just gonna? They're going around my chair like this. My chair is spinning. I'm afraid I'm gonna get a tail.
Yeah, Benton's finally parked on the back of the couch. Mulder's on the seat of the couch, and I'm pet free for the moment.
This baby. Oh my God.
I do want to take a moment though to say hi to Tiger Lily, who's out there.
Hi, watching. Tiger Lily. It's a little tiger. Let me see if I can get you so you don't disappear into the green screen. I don't know why you're not green.
She's not brave enough to lurk in the chat yet, but she watches the show.
Oh, come in the chat. Everything is good in this chat. We'll say this is Lucifer. Oh, so sleepy. My little puppy. They're not spoiled much at all. Mama loves the baby. Okay. They've got everything you can imagine. And I was sitting there today because it was Cyber Monday, and I'm looking, and it's like, buy 3, get 1 free. Okay, well, we don't have enough fur mice, so we'll get another one. Okay, well, the springs, we'll get that's all I'm doing for Christmas is the babies, because we're all chipping in, my family, we're chipping in this Christmas to get something for the house that we all need, because,
look, Mario, here's what you got for Christmas. Yeah. It's catnip for the cats.
Well, Mario's stuff for he's got his Hammond B3. He's got such a good musician. And again, I got to send you that song, that Mind Warp. It's so good. But so he's getting his little thing all set up and everything, and he gets nothing. I wouldn't know what to get him for nothing in the world. And now he's got his new Harley. So
Yeah, I
he's
was going to
getting all
say, he
that
told me
stuff.
for his birthday he got a Harley, and what was it, a fifth of Jack
He got
Daniels?
it.
And
I don't know. It's kind of blurry. He got it around the same time I got the kittens, and I didn't care. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty nice. I got kittens, Go. And at the same time, it's like, how did that get here? But no, he's happy and good for him. It's a beautiful bike. So he's got that, and everybody's got, when you have everything you need, I mean, honest to God, the only thing I can think of is getting, is like, 50 pounds of rice to spam or something, but be practical this year, make things again. Just screw them if they don't want the cookies because of all this crap that went by. You do it. Ted, you make those lard candles, you hand them out to your neighbors. They're going to love you for them. Because I'll tell you, if the lights go out and that daggum lard candle, it's almost biblical. Those things just burn for like weeks. I mean, if it had been 1,000 years ago, there'd be stories written about
yeah,
the lard
there's your
candle.
Hanukkah candle, a lard
There'd
made
be
out of lard.
stories written on the lard candle.
Maybe they were, because it just said they only had oil for X number of days and it burned forever. Maybe it was lard. Who knows?
We can start our own miracle. Everybody light your lard candles. I know a lot of people. I had to hear my wonderful son and his fiancee Stacy were here. We had a great time watching the 49ers games. I don't pay any attention to sports ball anymore. I really don't. I was paying more attention to the cheese and the pepperoni and the wine that was going around. I was kind of buzzing last night.
All the important stuff.
But everybody was so happy and content and warm, and we had the candles going and the kittens were playing. And I'm like, it doesn't get any better than this. I've got everything I need, The things I really would like to have, I can't have back, I wish that didn't happen to Mr. Dickens, and I wish he was here. It's our first Christmas and holiday. But I went out there Thanksgiving night, and I told him Happy Thanksgiving, and we missed him. We were all thinking about him, and I told him that I gave the kittens his middle name so it would live on, and and all this other stuff. And darn, if I didn't turn around and then look back to shut the door, and the candle was lit. And I promise you, those batteries were dead weeks ago. It's been rained on. It's not an outside candle. It's just a little inside, candle in this big old iron holder, And Lynn was telling me she knows that he's connected with me a little at a time. He's still going through his stuff, but he is, and he has been amazing coming through with all the little signals and signs. And he went around and he said goodbye to everybody in this house in his own way the day he passed. So I'm telling you, if a kitty can get through, your loved ones can get through. And as far as the Banshees, I've got a whole new outlook on them. I guarantee if I was in the moors, or I was out in the grove with the mist crawling across the green and you can't see anything, and I heard a banshee wail, I got to tell you,
I'd skedaddle, but
I'd be scared.
When I first read about those as a child, that scared the dickens out of me. I'm just like, if I ever hear anything screaming, I'm going to plug my ears.
Yep.
But after delving into it more here than I ever have today, and so there's a new interest and a renewed interest and a respect there for them that I didn't have before. It's still quite frightening and not anything I would want to experience, but I just see it with the new eyes now, just in a different light, I guess.
We're just looking at it different too, Steve. And I'm not joking, those Crisco candles, man, because again, you can go to a place like Walmart or an Aldi's or something and get their brand, and it works just as good. Those big get super candles down in there, and some people do 2 or 3. You don't need it. Just put one in the middle. It's overkill. And that candle will burn for weeks. So,
have you seen the thing people do with the clay flower pots and the little votive candles?
I do it all the time. I've got like 4 of them.
Tea candles and make a little emergency heater. I've never tried it, but I've heard that it works. It works exceedingly well.
And the trick is, I'll explain it again, but there's multiple videos online. But here's the important stuff. If you have a clay pot, now this could be one that you had stuff in, you just clean it out and get the dirt out because absorb it's stained, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's just you want the clay because the clay heats up and the clay heats the room. So you want to get a pot a clay pot, and then you want to get one that's just about an inch or two bigger. That's perfect. Now think about teepees and the way the Plains Indians teepees work. They had a little draft that went up. They had an inner circle that went around the inside that actually made the air go up, and that's what carries the smoke up. So it's very basically the same thing. So what you do is you get the small pot, you get something wire to put it on. If you can't get something wire like an old casserole holder or one of these dollar store hanging basket wire baskets or something like that, you can also just put it on something that won't burn like a cookie sheet, and you can put stacks of nickels or quarters or something up or some nuts or whatever to give it about an inch or two up. Then the small pot goes on top of that. Then your larger pot goes over top of that. You put a little piece of foil over the first pot, over the little hole or a quarter, and then the big pot goes over, and then you have that air that goes up and over the second pot. Now it'll really heat a good sized room. And if you have to throw a couple blankets over windows or over the exit to hold that heat in, I'm telling you, it will keep you going through the night. Now, I can use 4 tea lights, and that's 4 hours. Now, if you use the votive lights, some of those are 8 hours. Now, if you make the Crisco candles in small little pots, something that won't burn, metal, something along those lines. Don't use glass at pop, but something that's good for that, and those will burn a very long time. So you can keep yourself warm. There's all kind of tricks like that. Don't just give up. Believe me, and make sure you got something going around your pipes and everything else. But we were without any. I think it was almost 3 weeks during Sandy, and it got doggone cold. And I read an awful lot of books. I was lucky enough to have books. And I had to sit in bed and stay covered up in hats and gloves and everything else. But to keep the pipes going every couple hours, I did have a gas stove. I boiled water, and that would heat up the room enough, about 10 to 15 degrees difference. When it got really cold, to keep the pipes going, open all the cabinets. So there's little tricks that you can do. I don't know what you have or what you're working with, but by God, look it up now on how to stay warm. I mean, you can even keep one of those candles in your car if you ever broke down, and put a little wet wire hanger over it. Make your own on a mason jar or something where you can hang it up and get some heat in your car and stay warm till help comes. Keep blankets in your car, all that stuff. All the things your daddy used to tell you. Cat litter, a shovel, blanket, some, Vienna sausage, maybe some crackers.
Speaking my language.
Yep.
Potted meat.
Something potted meat.
Something else outdoors. You can't use it inside like you can in the flower pots there. Look into a rocket stove. Now, they make them. They're made out of metal and stuff. But there's plans. Like I just found this on
that's a good
Pinterest.
One.
You can make a rocket stove out of four cinder blocks there. Yep. You can make a rocket stove that will generate enough heat that you can cook over. You can boil water over it. Yep. Know these things, people, because you never know.
Absolutely, and I'm telling you,
hurricane or EMP blast and the grid goes down. You will need this knowledge.
Yep. I have put a cup of water on top of one of those clay pots, and I have a big one, and then I have a couple of little ones, like you would put a African violet in, about that size, like your. Probably a 6-inch pot. It's like if you have a 6-inch pot, then an 8-inch pot over it, that's perfect. I've got a couple of those set up. And then I have a marble table that I can put it on. So that keeps it from, whatever. And a cookie sheet or foil or something like a pie pan, a pizza pan, something like that.
Renee Sulin, I would not recommend using a rocket stove inside because
not
it's
inside,
fire.
On the porch, something like that.
Out on the porch, maybe a covered porch. With a metal roof, or just get it out in the yard.
Yeah,
if you can.
Some concrete can explode. I'll tell you what, when you're doing sweat lodges and stuff like that, you have to pick the right rock, because some rocks you put in that fire.
You want to be careful using any kind of fire inside the house because of smoke, because of catching the house on fire, and because of CO2. If you don't have a CO2 detector, get one. I've got 2 here. Plan to get a couple more.
Yep, those were 2 in, Edna.
Running something like Oh, one of those kerosene heaters and stuff. You can suck all the oxygen, burn all the oxygen up. You're warm, you go to sleep, and you never wake up because there's not enough oxygen in your
Those
house.
little emergency blankets, if you can go down to the dollar store and you go over, to the little section where they've got like the car stuff and things like that, you can see those little emergency blankets. Sometimes they're in first aid kits. They make all the difference in the world, and a lot of these different sleeping bags and stuff do too. But you can also think back to what people did before. Heating up coal, they put it in those little bed warmers and rubbed it in, to try to keep things warm. But be smart about it. But stay warm. I mean, I'll tell you, I haven't seen anything unsafe about the Crisco candles. I mean, of course, you have to act like it's hot oil because it's in the center. So if you have
There we go.
kids,
Cat's on Parade
be
says she's
careful.
got a rocket stove in the
In the
backyard.
backyard, perfect.
Cat's on Parade, is that one of the cinder block ones, or do you have one of the really nice, well-made ones, the fancy ones?
Yep, these do too. And here's another hint. If you could get to the dollar store now, get this stuff now and put it up in like a little prepper box or something with your batteries and a flashlight, a little transistor radio from the Dollar General or something, $10. Not anything fancy. Can't afford it. We have walkie-talkies and all kind of stuff. I'd love to get the ham radio too, but that's so expensive. But the thing is if you have some kind of outside connection so you can hear what's going on, a little transistor radio really helps with a local channel. But get you go now while they have all these like Christmas lights and all. It doesn't matter what they look like. The little stick solar lights are $1 a piece at the Dollar Tree. Now I think it's $1.25 now, whatever, inflation, craziness. So get those and load them all up in the sun outside and keep them going. And then when you get them all going, if the lights go out, just keep them in a little group outside or lay them out so, they're lining the driveway. It doesn't matter. So take those. And if the lights go out, you get a 2-liter bottle. You pull it helps if it's clear. It does work with the green. Pull the label off the outside if you can. Get as much of the plastic showing. Fill that bottle with water. And you just take that little dollar store solar light and you stick it, the little spike in the bottle, and then set that bottle in front of a mirror, like in your bathroom or in the bedroom. It'll go all night long for free. And somehow it sets that the water acts like a magnifier that's in the bottle, and it will light your whole room enough for you to walk around and see as much as a candle will. And you just take them out the next morning, recharge them, bring them in at night again. And that right there can save your candles so you can put them in the clay pot to help the room warm. Now, I warmed this room in the living room. I closed it off so I could keep it going. And I, for 2 weeks, burnt those jar candles. So think of the large Yankee candles, but these were like Macy Moore or Michaels. They were, store brand. But they still burnt for like 2 weeks straight. All three of those together.
And like you were talking about with the bed warmers, you get some river rocks, heat those up with a fireplace, whatever. Wrap them in a towel, put them in the bed, put them in the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Big Cole. Yeah, everybody be sure and show Sysco some love there. Super stickers and super chats are open. Every penny goes back to bringing you fine shows such as this one.
Thank you so much. And all of it goes right to this show, guys. I mean, I was so proud to be able to pay my StreamYard without worrying this week. YouTube usually gives you money every 3 months, only if it's over $100 after they've taken their money out. So when it always comes when I like need it the most and I got to pay, I pay StreamYard ahead a couple times. I don't have to worry about it. I'm a little mad at them right now because we got to use Firefox, so our videos drag. But every time I set one of these shows up, I always try Chrome for the video for you. I got to come over here so at least you guys can see some of these things we're talking about. And I think it does enhance the show, so you can see these people telling the story about seeing the band, stuff like that. But you guys absolutely helped me pay for that and the internet. And the next thing I'm going to do is get the USB ports. And Ted, I did get your message. I'm going to look into that. But both of my USB ports went, I guess, when it updated, the drivers don't recognize or something. So I'm going to take it to the Best Buy and have it looked at and because I have a brand new microphone, and trying to get the sound right for you guys. You wouldn't believe what we go through behind the scenes, Steve and I, and other people who have shows.
And I've got like triple redundant stuff. I've got extra audio interfaces. I've got extra microphones. I've got extra booms, extra cables, XLR cables.
Right.
You never know when something's going to go out. I've
And
got
it's
backup
not just
computers.
that. It's the research. I mean, I'm, thank God I've got Steve and I've got Donnie, and, for a while there, Laura was helping out. Laura decided, I guess, that she was going to do something different. She's just completely disappeared off all her stuff, but it's intentional. So I think she's just going through something. She wants her privacy, and we're going to give it to her, and we're going to send her love. But, it's funny, people will come and go, and I've been doing this for years. Steve's been doing this, now for years, but I was doing this on radio and everything else beforehand. And you finally get it to the way you want, and then the equipment starts going wonky and things change.
Yeah, I was doing it long before I was doing it on YouTube. I had Live 365. Remember that? I had my own radio station over there and had a few dozen listeners around the world, and it was fun. That was in the wild days, the Wild West days of the internet. You could play anything you wanted to over there, say anything you wanted. Copyright, what's that? Here, listen to this.
Right. I had to sit there, that little video, I had to load it 3 times to YouTube because they kept telling me there was a little song that was playing in the background. They didn't care anything about the people telling the story. It was just some little song in the background that somebody over in whatever claimed it.
Yeah.
So I had to cut it out.
And when they claim it, they get the entire video. Any monetization that it gets, you can have a 2-second, 5-second snippet of something in there. They will claim the whole video. Any monetization, any revenue it generates goes to them for that little bit.
And they don't even own it. It's not like they prove it. There's just, Vixen Doe, thank you.
Vixen Doe, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. It really does. And the comments you guys leave on the videos, it absolutely makes my day. Some really heartfelt ones here lately, and I appreciate you guys understand.
And that helps with the algorithm. What you're doing here in the chat, that counts toward the algorithm afterwards. Of course, like, share, and subscribe if you're not already, but make comments, leave comments on the video. That engagement is what the algorithm likes to see.
Absolutely.
In the stats, it can even show you how many comments per minute you are averaging in the chat there. And the higher the comments, the better engagement, the more the algorithm will smile on you and push you out to more new and different people.
Donnie was here in the chat a minute ago. He's probably still here in Big Cole. And also he's getting really busy. He's extremely busy in his business and everything that's got going on with him. So here's the thing, if you have a researcher, and I'm over here doing like mostly the way I have it rolled out, like this week has been crazy because I made so many centerpieces and funeral sprays is what I made the most, and wreaths is what I made the most of this week. It's been insane. And you wouldn't believe that the hours for floral, but especially around the holiday. But I'm also very, very glad to see people are celebrating and needing the centerpieces with the old taper candles in them, like back in the day.
Isn't it nice to get a break from funerals every now and then when the holidays roll around?
The fun pumpkins and the birthdays and the anniversaries, and the guys that come in with the roses, and the guy. Oh, I call it. I need a dozen red roses face, because they come in. It's like that's what they need. Do you have any roses? And it's always something. Do you have any? Yes. What color would you like? Red. Yes. Do you have any roses? Yes. What color would you like? Red. Yeah. So
somebody's in the doghouse,
and then you got somebody these adorable young kids that are going on like your second date, or it's our anniversary. We've been going out for 3 months. I want to get her roses, and I'm trying to tell them, honey, don't start with a dozen red. You got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Start smaller.
If you start out with a dozen, then it's 3 dozen, and then 12 dozen.
Start smaller is better. Get her that and a little teddy bear or something like that. I always try to help them save money.
Single red rose is a good start, fellas.
Oh yeah, that's really nice. And or pink, or learn the color of what they mean. I tell everybody there's a beautiful rose called a carnival rose, and it's a yellow rose with red tips. And the language of flowers goes way back, guys. It's a real thing. And I tell them that means yellow is a friendship, and red, of course, is love. So what this rose means is best only love. That's, gosh, the meaning of that. And see, you go and buy that rose and you write that on the card. Now, that's what people keep, is the card. Because the flower, dies, and if you don't dry it or stick it in something, the card people keep. And it's the sentiment, and that you thought of that. Extra bang for your buck. There's a little florist tip for you. Now, most florists won't tell you that. floral designers and stuff like that. They'll just, try to sell the big dozen. But I'd rather the guy get that bang for his buck, or the whoever's buying the flowers, the meaning behind them, because every single flower has a meaning. It goes way back to the Civil War. One night we'll do a show on that because I think it's so interesting. Each flower meant something, and the women would have these things called little tussy mussies, and the really rich ones had beautiful ones like gold and silver plated and platinum pewter, and it would have like a little chain and a little ring that would go on your finger, right? And inside there's a pin, so you could just like pick flowers, put them in a little bouquet, and stick them in there, and stick the pin through it. It would stay, and they were called nosegays. To make your happy is basically what they were going through, because when the guys came back from the war or were wearing their uniforms, or any of really people didn't really bathe that much back then, they would hold the flowers in front of their noses, see, so it would smell better. Now, each one of those flowers meant something, like forget-me-nots and violets and things like that. And it was called the language of flowers. So they would put together a bouquet and bring it to the woman of the house or whoever, and it would actually tell a story. So it's kind of cool. It still goes on today. And each color, means something. But each color of the rose means something. And sometimes the combinations mean something, and not each like species of that color, if that makes sense. Not all of them, because you have like your, like say your dark.
And Edna's talking about the preacher gathering flower petals. And now it is a southern thing, but down south there's such a thing as a rose petal funeral. And I was actually in a goth band one time. That was the name of the band, and that was where we got it. But it was a type of funeral service where they used rose petals.
I have two guys that come in that get flowers to take to their church, two different churches, two different denominations, and they each have their colors for that month or that weekend that they're buying flowers for, depending on what's going on. And even though they're two different denominations, guess what? The colors match up. Isn't that funny? Mm-hmm. Two completely different. You would never think they were in the same thing. So again, when people try to separate you with all these different compartmentalized things, whether it's religion or politics or, color or race or eye color or hair color, it's just another way to separate you all. Because again, tonight, I think even with the Banshee lore, we found that everything is, I think it's all connected, Steve.
It is. It's all connected. It's that paranormal onion. It's you peel off a layer, there's another layer, but it's all onion still.
Yep. The language
which
of flowers.
layer you're at or where you're at within those layers.
Nope, it's all over it, and it's real big out here in the East Coast. Certain Catholic churches, of course, they're all separated by denominations. And I was listening to something the other day that we're talking about the big. Actually, it was in the Lizzie Borden case. It came up again because now I'll tell you this little piece. Miss Churchill comes running across the street. Well, she was kind of the Gladys Kravitz of the neighborhood. She kind of like what everybody was doing and where they were and when they left and when they came back. One of those, blind pull curtain backers. And she noticed that Lizzie, now this was actually in the trial transcripts, and she didn't move from her story, Miss Churchill. She probably bought a new dress for the day, this woman. But anyway, she notices that Lizzie's standing at the back screen door, the side door, and just standing there like staring out. And somehow she just knew something was wrong. So she hollered across the causeway there to Lizzie and said, "Lizzie, are you okay?" And Lizzie that's when Lizzie said, oh yes, come over, Miss Churchill. Someone has killed Father. And someone has come in and killed Father is what she said. And that's what she said in the transcripts at the court. But I bring that up because right before then, she sent her maid, Bridget, who she called Maggie, couldn't even bother to know her real name. So these people in these movies that are telling you they had a big affair, bullshit. Never happened. That's made up out of whole cloth. Whole cloth again. She didn't even know the girl's real name. And Bridget had worked there for like 3 months. So again, put that in your bonnet and think about it. Rattle that around a minute. So anyway, she sends her across the street to the Protestant doctor. They were Protestant. and they had relationship with this doctor. He's the one that they would go to that would help the family. In fact, they had gone the day before as well. So the thing is when Bridget comes back and says that doctor is out and doing whatever, they never send Bridget. Nobody there ever sends Bridget for another doctor. Why? There was a doctor next door, a doctor that lived behind her, a doctor that lived next to that doctor across the street, and one, two houses down. But they weren't Protestant. They were Catholic. Put that in your bonnet. It was so deep, the separation of the classes and the religions at the time, that they went without one rather than to get one that wasn't in there. Now, how about that? So that made me think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, even a coroner. I mean, you got two dead bodies laying in there. You need somebody to come and pronounce them dead or see if they're still alive. I mean, they were obviously not alive, but you get my point. And wouldn't even go next door to get another doctor because they weren't Protestant. And that was in 1890s, 1893. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and it's probably still, I wonder if it would be to this day. I don't know that ever going into an urgent care and thinking about asking my doctor what his religion is. Can you imagine? Can you imagine to this day doing something like that this day? I hope not.
No, but still though, when you go to the doctor's office for the first time and they're filling out all this, they'll ask you for your religious preference.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's in case you're Catholic and want the last rites or something. If
right,
you,
that makes perfect sense. They did that in the military.
Probably while in their office.
Right there in your dog tags. I remember when I first joined, when I went into the induction. It's a long story, but when I got there, I was like, well, I would go more Native American than anything like that. And they didn't have, that wasn't really one of the choices. They only had a few choices. So I put no preference, which meant that when my body died in the combat, I'd just be thrown in the hole with everybody else. But they're just like, let her go. There's your, that's what it means. Because if it had said Catholic or if it is Jewish or if it said something else, the chaplain would have come and performed those ceremonies as per what my dog tag said, But I can't imagine, letting something like that hold you back in the time of emergency and need would be that strict. But that was what was done then. So when we talk about the Lizzie Borden case, and we will be talking about the Lizzie Borden case, and Steve is going to be in on it, like I said, Donnie. But I have to do a lot of the research because I'm digging up so many things. Steve's helping me. He's sending me all kinds of information and pictures and things to share with you. And Donnie's digging as much as he can. But that just goes back to tell you how much goes into episodes, that need that kind of research. That's why I can only do like one a month or one every couple months and really do it right. Because when I'm going to dig in on a subject, I'm going to uncover every damn leaf, every lie, everything. Is like, where did that come from out of nowhere? And then try to bring you guys the truth so you can discern with the facts and decide what you think with all of the smoke and mirrors thrown out, just like we did with Bonnie and Clyde and Abe Lincoln. And usually when we dig on one of these, even McDonald, whatever, you really dig up stuff that we didn't even know was out there. You can't just trust what's in. If I got to tell this chat, you can't trust what you see on the news. Bang your head against the wall a minute because it's crazy the amount of lies we've been told about history and everything else. So we're going to try to get back there. But I think Steve and I have really uncovered some deep stuff. And I think you guys have been lied to again. And I'd love to present the facts to you. And I think it'll be fun uncovering all that stuff. Right, Steve?
Absolutely. Got some good stuff coming up. Some of it's just absolutely amazing. And the one that there's kind of a Lizzie Borden tie-in in there, it's going to blow your mind.
Oh, yeah. And, the funny thing is I can remember I was in I'll give you this much, and then we're going to get out of here tonight because I need to go and eat something. You can probably hear my stomach growling. That's why I've been scarfing up these cookies. But I'll be up all night if I keep eating this chocolate. I'm just like, caffeine's going to kick in. But so about, I'm going to say about 20 years ago, I was talking with somebody on a radio show. and we were discussing true crime, and we were talking about different things throughout history that have really become like like these iconic paranormal places to go, like say like the Lizzie Borden house turned into a bed and breakfast. The so many other ones now. Her the house that she lived in that was further up the hill now, I forget the name of it. She named it something which really ticked off the townsfolk. Believe me, she was an instigator. But I was watching the lady talk there, and now you guys know how I feel. I'm not trying to begrudge anybody. Good night, Big Cole. We love you, darling. I'm not trying to begrudge anybody a business, but if you're sitting there in the place and you've got all this death stuff and you've got the death couch, which is not the real couch, guys. I'm sorry to break it to you. That's a replica. They did not keep the couch that Borden was killed on. So it was just too far gone. So it's a replica. So anyway, you turn into a bed and breakfast. You do it, obviously, leaning towards the night of the murders and all this other stuff. And you got the gift shop with the little hatchets and all that stuff. But then you're trying to tell people as you're standing amongst that you're not trying to exploit the murders or anything. You're just trying to keep history alive. And all. It's like, come on. There's a little bit of both there. So that one, the Liska axe murder, another one that bothers me, insane asylums, even some prisons, because I figured these, a lot of people in there didn't do what they were accused of doing. A lot of them did worse. But also, a lot of the punishment didn't fit the crimes either. I mean, it's just horrible. Like, look what happened to Clyde going in there at 17 and what happened to him. It changed him. It made him a criminal. It literally did.
It did.
And,
It's that's that way for a lot of criminals. It's an education. It's not a rehabilitation. Charles Manson, same way. He went in with a petty criminal, came out with knowing how to manipulate people, and then every time he went in, came out a little bit worse.
Right. And that's exactly what we were talking about. And this guy was so arrogant. Now, I hope I never come off arrogant. I just come off like over it sometimes. Like, like when people say like Oswald was the only shooter of JFK. I'm like, we're way past. We're like 30, 40 years
The magic
past
bullet.
that shit.
Magic bullet.
Oh, bullshit. The whole Warren Commission and, Ford admittedly changing the diagrams, moving the trajectory of the bullet so they could make the magic bullet for the good of the public. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't need lies. I think the public can handle the truth. Tell them the truth, but again, lied to again. But anyway, going back to the Borden case and this one guy, and it's rough when you're talking about with a bunch of people and they come in and they I got a PhD from this and I've got a degree from Yale for that and I got this from that, and you're still giving me shit about you're telling me with your PhD and your degree that there's no way a stranger could have committed such a crime because Abby Borden was hit 19. I don't care what you've heard. It was between 18 and 19 blows to the head, which is completely overkill without a doubt. One will do it. And then
that many whacks. Then
the dad was
almost argued that it was personal,
but you can't tell me that it was unusual, right? And they're sitting there saying there's no way, it had to be passionate, it had to be personal. This person wanted to obliterate these people. Oh, really? You can't tell me that that's rare. And I sat there and, now I'm sitting there and I don't have a PhD. I don't have a degree. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not any of those things. But I can discern fact from bullshit because I do have a BS degree from FU. So I tell this guy, everybody gets real quiet and they got to me and I said, okay, I don't ever want to insinuate anybody's theory is wrong. And they said, well, do you have your own theory? And I said, no, I have my own question. And he said, really? What would that be? And I said, how close was that house to the train tracks? And I just left it there. And that was 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm going to leave that there with you guys because I'll tell you what, I was feeling pretty good about saying it then. And I'm feeling pretty good about saying it now. And I'm going to leave you with that. And Steve knows what I'm talking about, but you can't tell me, when somebody tells you definitively you must believe me because here's my credentials. Absolutely. Take what they're saying, with a little extra weight because they do have that. But then again, if you have somebody with that much education, that much knowledge that says they will not budge because they know this to be true, they are an expert, and something they're saying isn't quite clicking right with you, don't you be afraid to sit up and call bullshit, or at least ask a question that makes people think. Because I'm telling you, it took 20 years, but I got there. And I feel, and I'm feeling pretty cocky about it. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I'm the same way. And with the paranormal stuff, anytime that somebody's introduced as an expert,
Expert.
you've already lost me right there.
Right there with you, Glenn. In fact, I've been talking to that author, and he co-wrote that book with his daughter. And and again, I'm not saying that was the answer to the Borden case.
But
My
just
only
the amount
point
of
is,
research that went into that was very, very impressive.
10 to 12 years the man did, and of course his daughter, and that was very fun for me too. I am almost jealous of them meeting for breakfast, and this is what I found. And I got to tell you, I love that part of the research. I love getting with Donnie and Steve and other people and going, well, this is what I found. Oh my gosh, that matches up with what I've got. This makes sense. This has legs. Let's look into this. That's very exciting for me, and I get very excited to bring that information to you, and also bring the information of how these movies, like let's use Amityville for a reference here. When we were talking about all this, I was shocked at how many people came to me and said, well, I know that, like say the mailbox was possessed because it was in the movie The Third, and I'm like, hold on, wait a minute, what? No, that never happened. They made that up for the movie. There's no this, there's no that. You have to go back to the facts, and then go back beyond that and see if there's anything else going on. And look what we showed you. That house had more than one exorcism from a priest in Canada years before anything ever happened, with Ronnie and the DeFeos, other than the fighting and everything else in that house. There was something else going on in that house. It was a mixture of hokum and, stuff made out of whole cloth, lies and bullshit and greed and arrogance and, criminality, and the mob. It had everything. But there was something going on in that house.
And then right in the middle of it, or afterwards, anyway, you got the Warrens in there. And, I'm not saying everything they touched was bogus, but
a lot of it was.
I think they embellished a lot of things and play. I mean, it's anytime you see these ghost shows or anything on TV or anybody that's out there doing it to that extent, it's entertainment. They're entertaining folks.
Yeah, but it's just like anything else, Steve. You and I say all the time, honey. It's the thing is it's disreputable to the cause. Here we've got, I was really quite upset at somebody I saw at a convention not long ago, and he thought he was so full of himself, he just thought he had an angle, man. There's not one person there I know that isn't irritated by him walking in the door. There's not one thing that you can say that he won't try to debunk or tear up. And if you get him to the point where you got him in the corner, he'll just call you a liar. You don't know what you saw. You hallucinated. And I'm sorry, I don't like people like that, because behind me, while I'm listening to him talk, I've got the feeling of at least 3 or 4 hearts breaking back there. I thought she saw her grandmother, and she did, for all I can pick up on it. And she was perfectly happy. I was just there for some validation and interested, like maybe I can find out more. And this girl left crushed, walked out the door with her head hanging and everything else. There was 3 or 4 other ones just like it. People don't realize what they do with their words. I try to be very careful, and, I try to be careful in what I say. I don't want to alienate anybody. I'll even go to the point of going, listen, gather together. What you believe is your belief, and your intent is your intent. But if I'm going to fight this, I know I'm bringing Jesus with me, because I know what works for that. But I might have to go to a shaman to deal with a pissed off Native American from that area, or I might have to go to this. Again, you have to open your mind. But we don't want to alienate anybody that thinks that, if they don't follow this, that they're not going here. Because again, like my elder said, whether it's call of a banshee or the crows or the screech owl or a bird hits the window, if you're crossing over, chances are you're not crossing over alone. And we're accountable for our deeds and the things that we do and our choices that we make. And I think we're here for school and to try to do those things better and leave on a higher vibration. If not, why are people coming back to help others so they can leave on a higher vibration after they learn a little bit of that? And also others come back to help us over. We don't go alone. And there's so many cultures that believe that. And tonight, I think the Banshee, for me, is kind of in that category. You know, it really is, Steve. I'm looking at it totally different now, and I'm certainly not an expert on it, but I'd love to hear more about it. And yeah, crows. I'm telling you, the crows for 2 weeks before Dickens died, they followed me from my house to my work, and and I mean, there was hundreds, and then the day he went, they were gone. So say what you will, the thing I saw in the street that everybody thinks was a black dog or a harbinger or a shapeshifter, everybody that I told thought that was a harbinger of doom. My mom was dead right after that. Right after that, just weeks, she was gone. So I can't say it wasn't. I can't say it was. I think there's some truth to all this. I think it's all connected. And I think a lot of these things that we're scared of, not all, but some, just might be in another category as well. Maybe a little of both, good and bad, Steve. And I think the Banshee might be one of those crossovers, Steve.
I think so, and I think there's a lot of stuff like that. There again, it depends on the location, the people involved, and how it's interpreted by those people or the people that they allow to interpret for. Whether you've got like an old wise woman or a crone or whatever that's right, telling people how to perceive things and how to think about things.
There's so much truth connected to the lore. There's so much. It's like in that wives' tale, that little, why did they tell us not to put your shoes on the table? Well, it's not healthy for one thing. It's kind of dirty, So they might have come up with the thing that it was bad luck just to keep you from doing it. But there's some things out there that if you do them, it might just bring you some bad luck, And some of these harbingers, I believe, are real. But this Banshee, I'm thinking it has a little bit more with what, like Lynn was talking about last night. You don't die alone. I'm going to go with what that elder lady said, that, you don't want to hear a Banshee, but when you hear one, at least you're not crossing over alone.
Yeah, you want to know what it means if you do hear it. So
kind of cool.
That's where I went. Like from a child, I just, I'd never want to hear that. I would deafen myself with a sharp stick.
Right.
But then the more you know about it, the more you understand about the nature
of the
supernatural and how things work. Now, but that's the thing about all of it. When you think you have an answer, then you get a new set of questions. They don't all work the same way. Some of them are family, some of them aren't.
Yep.
Some of the research I read today likened them to mermaids or, of course, sirens. They would sit on the rocks and lure ships to their doom. Still, it was a harbinger of doom, but they were leading you to it instead of forewarning you of it. So it's all that's that whole connection there.
It is. It's wild. It's so interesting too. I learned so much with you, Steve, in our little story hours, and come in here and talk to the chat. We have such a good time
every day. I surprise myself.
We have such a good time. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about the Banshee now. I don't want to hear one tonight. I don't want to hear any knocks on my door, Steve. I don't want to hear. I don't care. I don't want to have to sing Jeremiah's bullfrog and the paintings falling off my walls and the eggs turning in the carton and stuff, all kind of mess things. We already got animals marching around in circles, and God knows what else is going on. We got locusts and plague, and God knows. I don't know what's happening, guys, but who does the Banshee scream for? I hope it's not for thee. I hope it's not for me, and I hope it's not for you. So there you go.
Indeed.
All right, what do you got going on this week, my friend?
More of the same. I'm recording and editing and got stuff coming up. Got some special special project that I'm working on that I think everybody's going to like once it's available. It's something that people have asked me to do lots and lots of times, and I'm finally doing it. It's not on any platform that I'm on right now, so
we're getting together too. Lynn
Just
and I are thinking about getting a cooking channel. I could use a beer buddy if you want to sit there. We're going to get drunk and watch Lynn cook, and then she's going to try to explain us how to cook the dishes we don't want to cook. I'm not. I just trying to make. I was making her laugh last night because I'm just not somebody who likes to cook. I'll throw something together in the pan if it comes out good. I'll take
I've
credit
thought
for it.
about. I love to cook. That's one of my passions.
Just
I've thought
depends.
about doing a
We'll
cooking
do a
channel
cooking.
before.
You and
Got the
Lynn
GoPro. Just put it on my chest or my head. And you can watch what I'm doing, or have a camera up above pointing down. I've got a boom, a camera
I'll
boom.
I'll drink the cooking sherry because I wanted to do something like the Galloping Gourmet back in the day that starts off really good. By the end, I'm talking to the chicken. It wasn't because so drunk. You remember those? Like the Galloping Gourmet, Graham Care, and all them that they'd start. And Julia Childs too. She nipped a little bit more than just a little bit of that cherry. And do you know that she was a spy? Did you know?
What?
You know that she was a spy.
Oh yeah. She worked for the.
She sure was. That's
what was
true.
the forerunner to the CIA, the OSS, or whatever it
She
was.
sure did. Good old Julia Childs. Well, how about that? You always learn something new on this show, don't you guys? I love you all so much. Happy birthday to Mairead. This week, I don't want to announce what's next weekend. I'm trying to work that out with Donnie, but with so much research, and Steve is even getting involved in the research, and I think he's going to come on and talk about it too. It would just be an absolute delightful. And I don't want to say that for sure because I'm trying to work with a couple of guests, and their time is tight because of the holidays. I'm going to try to keep bringing you some great Christmas jazz here and some old nostalgic pictures because I want to lift your vibration.
And we
Somebody here
will
said
have a Christmas story show, Christmas paranormal stuff.
absolutely, and I
Got some
found you a
stories
good
to
one.
tell.
I found you a good Rod Serling story. We're going to watch maybe a different kind of Christmas Carol and some other stuff together and some mysteries that have to do with ghosts, Christmas ghosts and stuff. So we've got a lot planned for you. I just don't know exactly when it's all going down. So I'm hoping that this season, whatever you're celebrating in whatever way, please understand that same things that were wonderful 100 years ago are wonderful now. Give of yourself, give of your time, give of your talent. If you can't give it all, just, if you haven't got a hay penny, a wheat penny, a hay penny will do. If you haven't got a hay penny, God bless you. We have
Amen.
each other, and we will be here. We will be trying to lift your spirits, pun intended, and connecting you in with that love and that light that's going to get you through
Got my
the darkness.
sage here. That's
There you
not
go, baby.
that's not anything green that you smoke. That's
That's about all I
sage,
got left of that one.
hand
This
tied
was
by
about.
Navajo medicine man that
There
lives
you
out
go.
here.
Mine's a
It's
little bit, but I got a brand new one
got
and a bunch of
sage,
wood.
and it's been got some kind of
Probably
oil on it,
sweetgrass.
tied with some kind of special cord or something there,
All the way
and
from here, baby.
wrapped and knotted a certain way.
Looks like
But
it's
no,
got sweetgrass in there too, baby.
there's something other than sage in here. It's got a great smell. I've had it on top of the fireplace here, drying out. It's ready to work now.
Ready to go. You better open up a window, honey, when you do that. Hit every corner, put salt in your corners too. You're the lady in there I'm feeling right now tonight because I just kind of tuned into her. She's getting a little restless. But you go ahead and keep doing what you're doing. You're making progress. Tell her, please, for me, forgive yourself, darling. Don't be mad at God. He didn't do it, and you shouldn't be ashamed the way you went. There's people over there that can help you cross over.
Yeah,
She's gonna a little
and
bit
I've
like our
noticed
Cool
since
Breeze.
I'm the only one here, it's a
It's
lot
different.
lighter in here.
Yeah, I
That
know.
heaviness, a lot of it lifted when I rebuked her that morning. But since then, since Sandy and Robbie moved out, I think they had some personal belongings that had some attachments. In fact, there's one thing that I know of in particular, but I'd rather not talk about that here because it's not mine to talk about.
Right.
But after that was out of the house, I've noticed a big change.
Mm-hmm. And there are things like that, but this woman is connected to that room. You know what I'm talking about, and the thing she needs to do is forgive herself. It's okay. And those on the other side will not be mad at her. Sometimes when we do things like we pick an exit that really wasn't one that was structured for us, like when we take ourselves out, you didn't finish something. You didn't finish the journey. And a lot of times people think that when they do that, it's you're saving yourself from the things that are coming, and it really kind of almost makes it worse because you still have to with it and deal with it here. And I think Steve's the right person to help her, and if not, I'll help him too. But that's the message I want you to give her. Though. Please forgive herself that it's okay. Sysco said it's okay, and somebody on the other side that
Somebody
loves
that's
her
at stage 4 and that's terminal
saying that.
like that and
Yeah,
it's in a lot of pain.
she's got to forgive
I
herself.
don't think you're in your right mind, and I
Right.
think the Heavenly Father, or the whoever you worship, I think they take that into account.
Yep, it's not. Yeah, it's not what people keep telling people. All it does is what
Now, I'm
Steve said
not
right
giving
there.
anybody free
No,
license
no,
to do whatever you think you ought to
no,
do, whenever you think you ought to do it, because it don't
no,
work that way.
no.
But
But that's but you just have to continue it. But that's what she's going through.
I
You don't
think
stop
there's,
it. You
uh,
continue it here, stuck here for a little bit, and that's the part she's going
and
through
you
right now.
talk about the judgment in the hereafter, the final judgment, or when you stand before your
Judge
Creator.
yourself. Yeah.
I think that's all very individualized and custom tailored to you. You get a
I don't think
chance.
you judge yourself.
You get a chance to speak for yourself and say why you did what you did. If you've ever heard Sean Graham's near-death experience,
Yep. Similar.
listen to him talk about that, where he talks about he stood and basically pleaded his case to God. This is why I did what I did. This is why I can't stay. This is why I need to go back. And again. And it tells you that in the Bible. It says go boldly before the Lord when you're asking for something. And it doesn't
Right.
say be disrespectful
And
or
also
demand.
try to be your best too.
Go boldly.
People who do that, this is the whole part about that kind of a thing. What she did, bless her heart, she just took so many pills to get out, and then she's mad at God. She's deflecting that towards him, yelling at Steve, saying God gave me breast cancer when God didn't. And she just needs to forgive herself. So she's going through a little bit of that therapy. It's going to be very similar to what Cool Breeze went through. Very similar. Just love them through it.
I
And
think
show them
all
what
that it
God's
took.
about, what love is about. That's what you need to do. Show them.
Rebuked and witness there. I think that broke whatever it was, and she was like, had that.
Never to think.
If you can have that aha moment in the afterlife, I think she had the aha moment, and off she went.
Yeah, she's not gone, Steve. She's there. I wish she went outside.
Okay.
But she's like
Maybe
this
she was climbing the ladder the other night when I couldn't see
back and
anybody
forth.
on it.
But she's listening. And you're very good for her because she's getting a lot of that faith base she didn't get from the outside, from you and from everything you're doing and the good works and the people. It's
They
beneficial.
moved out. Sandy encountered the little boy again, and he was outside. She said that's the first time he'd ever seen him outside. So
I'm saying it got pushed out, but that doesn't mean they go and then after time they slide back in. But that's why, just keep saying that. Just matter of factly to her. Please forgive yourself. I forgive you. That's huge. I forgive you. And so, I don't even know you. I don't need to know you. We're all connected. We're all part of it. We're all part of each other. So if you think about things that way, sometimes it's a little easier. So I'm going to take us out of here. We've all got a busy week. We're all working on this. You work on your stuff and what you're doing for the holidays, and everything is okay. Don't tell yourself it's not enough. It's plenty. Even if you just write down a little story to pass along to the family that you want them to have, or start a scrapbook for the whole family to
Stuart
leave.
Smalley, that character on
Anything.
Saturday Night Live. You are enough. You are good enough, and people like you. People love you.
And doggone it, people like you. All right. Play a little of this out. It says that the show's starting in 5 minutes. I was going to play it before, but I thought I'd play it after. This is for all you guys, a little nostalgia, a couple pictures of the kitties, and a couple things to smile at. So you guys leave with a smile
Good night,
tonight.
everybody. Thank you
Good
for
night,
being
everybody.
here.
We
Again,
love
happy
you.
birthday to Raid. Tiger Lily.
Happy birthday.
Turn on the stove because Daddy's bringing home the bacon.
There you go. Ooh, bacon is love, baby. Hi, Tiger Lily. Have a good night, everybody. Good night.
Do you have anything you'd like to say? Would you like something to eat, Mr. Bucephus? Do you want to eat? Yeah.